Hello, guys. I have so much to talk about today. I've been looking at my life as a writer and I've been asking myself, why did I fail as a writer? Fail in the sense that I did not continue writing, I did not um, work on the craft continuously to improve and become better and become that writer that I've always imagined in my mind. I've been looking at all the things and I've been asking myself, why? And I have been getting some answers, but those answers did not really seem like the answer. You know, the moment when you ask a question you do not know the answer to, and people answered the question, and you're like, no, that's not the answer. And they're like, how do you even know that that's not the answer? You said just now that you don't know the answer. Yeah, I don't know the answer, but that's not the answer. And they're like, how did you know that it's not the answer? I just don't know. That's not the answer. And when eventually someone says the right answer, and you're like, wow, exactly, that's the answer. And it has happened sometimes in selfies. Like the things people would say just does not make sense with what your question is. And then eventually someone says something that makes sense. And they're like, yeah, that must be the answer. So recently I did say that I was going to do a 100-day challenge. I was going to write poetry for 100 days, write short story for 100 days, do a spoken word channel, do a 90-day video challenge. And guess what, guys? I talked about it, I started it, and then I failed. Yeah, like it was just so much, and I broke down. And it took my mind to remind me that, look, there is a reason that you've not been able to do these things all this while. First, doing a lot, that's a lot. Because I have academics and all those things I need to work on, which I didn't put into perspective when I was making those goals and those challenges. But if it was easy to do all these things this while, because all the time I've tried to set goals, tried to set a lot of things because I wanted to get these things done faster. And at the end of the day, what I realized is that 2 years, 3 years, in trying to get these things a lot done, that was a lot. In trying to get these things done a lot faster, I end up not doing any of them, which is not what I wanted in the first place. But I'm like, okay, how do I make it better? I'm like, reduce. But I don't want to reduce anyone. I want to get them all done or none at all. And it's a really tricky situation. You're like, something or someone you love. Okay, let's say something you love. Because I don't want to go someone you love because it becomes really, really sensitive. But if you are asked to choose between four things you love really, really well, you're like, you either choose one. You can either you choose one or you don't get any of them. Well, now that I'm saying it, it seems stupid for me not to choose one. But I'm like, choose one or you don't get any of them. I'm like, well, since I'm not gonna get any of them, I'm not gonna do it anyway. And I'm like, do you love all four of them? Yeah, I do love all four of them, but I just can't choose one. I have to take all four or I'll do nothing. And it's same thing for my goals. I look at them and I set goals. I give an example of I set goals to spoken word channel and do write poetry every day, write short story every day, write short story every day. What was this? Do a 90-day video challenge on the viewed writing YouTube channel, and that was a lot. And then I still have academics to focus on. Now, take for example, if I had no other job I was doing, I was just a student. Sorry, I was just a writer and a content creator. I had no other thing I was doing. I wake up in the morning and all I could do was go create content and then wake up again and write. And well, that challenge doesn't seem like so much because in the morning I could film a video, in the evening I could write spoken poetry and short story for 1 to 2 hours, and that's my day. Like that day, my day doesn't even sound stressful the way I just described it. I eat, I take my bath, go for a walk, come back, have a good night rest, wake up and work on what I need to work on for the day. It's not so stressful, but not when you're a student. And as a student, you have to go to class, and before you go to class, you're not just going to wake up and go to class. You have to get prepared for the class, about 30 to 40 minutes to prepare for the class. And you go to class 8 o'clock, you come back 2 o'clock. Now, coming back 2 o'clock, that you're already tired and stressful. Now, you need to read at least 6 hours a day. Now, puts in perspective, that's a whole night, and you need to get your sleep too. So when you put the class, the studying, your sleep, what's left is like 2 or 3, 4 hours that you need to manage. That's if you get them. Now, I didn't even put into perspective the transit time. Like that's the time you spend moving from place to place, thinking about what to do and trying to do other things, talking to people. All those time I didn't factor those things in. But those things are part of the time that reduce what we need to do. So now I looked around and I was asked myself that I have to choose one thing. And the challenge and the idea and strategy I used was simple. Reduce everything. I'm not going to do spoken word channel. I strike that off my list. I'm not going to do the short story a week challenge anymore. I strike that off my list. I'm not going to do a poetry a day challenge anymore. I strike that off my list. I'm not going to do the 90-day video challenge anymore. I strike that off my list. So what's left for me? I choose a very simple challenge. I told myself that every day I was going to go to a place and I'll spend 30 to 40 minutes that the place is quiet, and I'll film a video every day consistently. I'll film 1 to 2 videos depending on how much ideas I have. I'll just film them. And over time, I will iterate and will improve on the content creation. And while I was doing that, it came and it occurred to me that, wait, this podcast is not growing as much as it should grow. Why don't I post every day about writing and my writing life, and then eventually bring it down to maybe 2 times a week? We just post it consistently for the next 30 days. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. So at the end of the day, I came up with the YouTube 30-day challenge, the podcast 30-day challenge, and now I write for 50-word stories for 10 minutes every day. Now, why do I write 50? I will explain the idea behind each of those challenge and what they seem to do. For most people, when we hear people doing challenge, we jump on the challenge and we do it too. We don't even know why we're doing the challenge. We don't even understand what the challenge is. Well, might be a good approach towards life, but sometimes a challenge might not fit you. Yeah. For the YouTube 30-day challenge and the podcast 30-day challenge, why am I doing it? First, I'm scared of creating content. Scared in the sense that, not that I'm scared, because when I say scared now, I'm ashamed to even say the word scared. But scared in the sense that I have these so many internalized voices that are in my head that each time I try to create content, each time I try to post or make content, these voices in my head, they come up, they tell me that I'm not good enough, I have nothing to offer, I don't have experience, I don't have expertise, and these voices, those ones that tell me that I'm not good enough, those ones, sometimes I try to overcome those ones. But at the end of the day, all that voices come up again, like, oh, your phone is not good enough. Oh, you don't have that time. Oh, the environment is so noisy. Oh, you don't have a microphone. Oh, you don't have the softwares. Oh, your phone lags and slow. And all these things are true. Yeah, all these things I mentioned about my phone not being so good, they're true. But then I asked myself, okay, these are the reasons why I cannot, why I should not. Okay, what are the reasons why I can't, why I should? I need to get the two sides of the coin. And I'm like, yeah, you should build content now because it will help improve you showing up. It will help you become more creative. It will help people relate more to you because now you're not the expert per se, and you're posting content even if, despite the fact that you're not good enough, despite the fact that you're not the expert, despite the fact that you're trying to figure things out, despite the fact that you're confused, and the fact that you're not an expert would make a lot of people connect with you. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. So I'm doing the YouTube and the podcast challenge now. I know this is a writing podcast, but I'm saying this because the YouTube and the podcast challenge that I've been doing has brought a lot of things into my perspective, because it's so easy to not see how fear stops us from chasing our creative work. Now, it's not like we are afraid of the work, but so many reasons and excuses that we give in our mind, we've internalized them. It's a feeling. It's not like because most of the times, if this voice was in our head was a voice per se, we would tell it to shut up and do the work anyway. Because if the voice was to tell us that, look, people are going to laugh at you, your work is not good enough, you're going to tell them, like, who cares about people? I don't care. I want to do what I want to do. And you do it anyway. So now I've reduced it for 50 words. So I want to write the 100. I'm applying the law of 100. So essentially, what's the law of 100? The law of 100 says that you need to write 100 pieces of work to evaluate you and to see how good it is, to expect to improve before you can even think of quitting. And I'm not doing it because I want to think of quitting, because I will keep writing whether I'm good at it or not. But I'm doing it because after 100 pieces of work, I would improve over time. I will apply things, I will test things. So I'm writing 100 pieces of 50 word stories. Now, I don't know how long that will take me, but eventually, after writing 150 word stories, I'll then move on to maybe to microfiction, and then move on to flash fiction, and then move on to 100 short stories. And I know that over time I would improve a lot. I will work on my skills a lot. But the the moment I wanted to say, oh, I need to do everything, I remember that it's more than 4, 5, 6, 7 years. You've always tried to be a writer, that you've set all these creative goals. Now, in recent episodes, at the beginning of this year, I talked about New Year, say me in one of my episodes, and I was like, how we set goals, and but we don't create time for that stuff. And 3 months, 6 months went by. Well, it wasn't because I wasn't working right. It was because I had so many goals. It was hard to track. It was hard to improve. It was hard to measure. It was hard to be on point. Now, this is it. I told myself that you can multitask. You can do a lot of things as a writer, but you can only do one thing at a time. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is, as a writer, each time I feel that, okay, I can take on a writing goal and work on it for 3 months. And then the next 3 months, work on another writing goal. And then the next 3 months, work on another writing goal. But at every point in time, I'm working on just one form of the goal. So it looks as if I'm focused on just one thing. For the next 3 months, I'm focused on just one thing. I'm doing just one thing, nothing else. But over the course of a year, I would have done 4 different major projects. And then another year, that's 8. Another year, that's 12. Okay, to put it in perspective, it's, let's say you want to write a book. Okay, let's say you want to write 15, 20 pieces of book. If I try to write 20 books at the same time, well, that's a recipe for catastrophe. But what if instead of trying to write 20 books at the same time, I decide to write one book at a time and give myself 3 months or 6 months to write one book. And then after 3 months and 6 months, I move on and then write another book. And then I write another book. And over 2, 3, 4, 5 years, people will see my portfolio and my catalog of works and they're like, wow, how did you manage to write 40 books? How did you manage to write 30 books? Wow, that seems like a lot. You're very prolific. How did you do all that? And I would just look like, I never wrote more than one book at any point in time. I just wrote one. And so as writers, we need to look back. And the same thing, I'm saying this podcast, and I've tried as much as possible to it be me talking to my friend who is in the other side listening to the podcast. I have failed writing because I've tried to do so many stuff. And at the end of the day, I realized that it's the things you're crossing off your list. You are not crossing them off forever. You're crossing them off until the first one gets done. So the same thing with the 4 goals I've set. The stuff I striked off the list, it's not like I won't come and do those things later on. I would pick them up later on and work on them. But for now, I am not doing any of the stuff. Any of the stuff is distractions. I'm only solely focused on writing 50 word stories, playing with the form, writing it, playing and learning more about it, testing and working with it. That's what I'm focused on. And then eventually I would say, okay, after 1 to 2 months, when I get that done, I move on. I could do spoken word. And I do that. Sometimes it's important because I keep making the same mistake. I would set so many goals, I won't do any of them. And then the next time I would still set so many goals. And I'm like, I've failed so many times in setting so many goals that I don't achieve any of them. But I'm like, well, this one will be different. Like one of those goals, it's better than nothing. And if you've set really good goals, one of those goals will mean a lot to you. That if you do that goal, it will mean a lot. Like you would, or if you can just strike it. It's just like when we set to-do lists sometimes. When I set to-do list, in all those stuff, there's kind of a priority ranking system at one point in time. That if I could strike it off 1 or 2 tasks out of that to-do list, that day is a win. Like, it doesn't really matter the 15, 16 other things on my to-do list. It doesn't really matter. But there are other days where even if I strike off 10 things in my to-do list, I still haven't done anything for that day because the major task, the scary task, the most important task, the hard task have not been done. And the tasks that really mattered to me, that they are dear to my heart, have not been done. So at the end of the day, when I'm evaluating the day, I just realized that, oh, today I didn't really do on the most important things. I just, you can put any stupid thing on your to-do list. You can put in tasks like write my to-do list on your to-do list, plan my day, and then you strike that up, and you could put something like uh, uh, check my to-do list, and you just put those three things and you strike those three things up, and you're like, wow, I've achieved a lot. But in essence, you've not really done anything when you strike those three things off your list. But instead, if you've told yourself that write for 15 minutes, and writing means a lot to you, when you write for 15 minutes and you strike that up, that's a lot because you like the goal is important. Yeah, the goal is important. Not all goals have the same importance as each other. And I'm working on one thing at a time. Over the course of 1 month ago, 2 months ago, I'll learn a lot, I'll grow, I'll be able to put the focus at a time. I will do so many things, but at any point in time, I'll do one thing. That's what I have told myself now. And because if I try to do everything, I will do nothing. I know myself. I need to understand myself. Some persons can multitask and you do 6 things at a time. Great, if that's you, awesome. But that's not me. And if I'll be lying if I try to say that's me. Can only do one thing at a time. Anything other than that, anything that makes it seem overwhelming, I might not do it. Yeah. So, what are the things preventing you from focusing? What are the things that are stopping you? What are the things that you've been looking at and you think you need to share with someone? I'd love you to use the means to send a voice memo to me on buildwriting.com/speak, or you could, if you're on Spotify, you could use the polls and comments feature and respond. I'd really want to hear from you. I do have an email list of about 400 writers, and when I send emails, and if the email is really helpful, they reply to me, and that means a lot. And I keep sending every Friday. If you want to subscribe to that, you can go to buildwriting.com/newsletter. But the main reason why I'm talking about that is when I record this podcast and people are sending in messages and they're telling me how helpful it is to them. Well, I'm not going to force you. If it's not helpful to you, you don't have to send any message. But if it's helpful to you, let me know, because so I'm outside now in a quiet place in the school compound, recording and talking to my phone with the hope and the belief that someone out there will listen to this and it will be of value to them. They'll connect with it. And what other thing would make me feel that, yeah, the stuff, someone is actually listening to it, rather than someone sending me a message and saying, oh, I listen to your stuff. Yeah, getting views is great, but nothing beats getting someone telling you that, look, that stuff was really helpful. Truly helpful. Not people you pay to tell you that it was helpful. Yeah. And tomorrow I'll release another episode. I don't know what that will be, but I'd like to go more into the projects I'm working on and the task I'm working on. So, guys, if you found this episode valuable, do wait to like, comment. Did I say like, comment? Not all podcasting platforms have like and comment, but anyway, you can use to support and put that social proof out there, that so that other people would see and realize that, oh, based on the rating and the reviews, this podcast must be a really important podcast, so they too can benefit from watching. Because the truth is that there's so much noise out there that people really need a way to like know that, oh, this stuff is valuable, so that they don't even waste their time trying to listen to stuff out there. So I do hope you got value from this episode. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Mechi, and you've been listening to the Build Writing Podcast. Thank you so much. And I do believe that you would keep writing. I do believe that you keep on being creative. And I do believe that despite the fear, despite the challenges and everything, we would still do the stuff. Not because those things are not there, not because those challenges are not there, not because we are not scared. No, we're scared. We're afraid. Our heart is in our hand. But we will still do it anyway. That's what courage is, that's what showing up means. That's what makes it matters. Because if it was easy, everyone would do it. Yeah, you know how many persons want to become writers but don't write? Yeah. Until next time, keep writing.